Hey everybody, hope you're doing great. It's Kendall Netmaker here today. Today, we're going to be talking about some leadership tips, growing your companies, and so on. Um, One of the things that I've been getting recently are to give some tips, some feedback on things that maybe some people don't do, but they should. So I want to talk first and foremost about when you are, let's pretend you get an opportunity, okay, and you jump into a role that you're brand new at, or a leadership position, or you're starting a new business and so on. Here's some of the things that I noticed that a lot of people do that aren't successful in business and aren't successful in growing into new leadership positions. These are the common things that I notice. um, Before I get into that, if you have any questions or anything else you want me to talk about on today's live stream, please ask away on the chat box and I'll pull it up and I will answer your question. So, some of the things that people in these positions do, all right? So, I would say the first one is that they aren't disciplined to themselves. They don't discipline themselves up here to be on time. They call that being punctual, right? Being on time for meetings, being on time for work, and so on. One of the things I notice a lot of successful people doing is that when they get opportunities or they're trying to make a good impression, they're always early. Early is on time for them. Whereas people who are unsuccessful with things, when they show up to something, it's usually, on time is that's good for them. You want to be successful in everything in your life, your career, and so on. You have to get used to being early for everything that you could possibly can. Now, I know a lot of you are probably thinking, well, Kendall, I have all this stuff going on. It's lucky for me to even show up early. Well, yes, there are times when we're going to be late. Yes, there are times where we can't predict what's going to happen. Yes, there's things that may happen throughout our careers and so on, our life and so on. But you have an opportunity to take control of your time by saying, I want to be early as much as I possibly can. It was something that I held very deeply in my mindset when I got into business, is I was going to be early for everything. In fact, I remember I was at this one presentation, and so I got asked to do this presentation like several years ago in Saskatoon. And I remember I was about, I don't know, 10 minutes into the presentation. And about 10 minutes into the presentation, that I was already getting on a roll with the talk that I was speaking on. And as I was going through this, there were like five people all together come in and they walk all the way across the room. And this room isn't that big, it's maybe 100 people in that room. So you can kind of see people walking in the front. And so as they came and sat down, um, it got really awkward. And the reason it got awkward is because I did a timeout and I was like, hold on a second, I want to talk about something really quickly. And I said, the reason a lot of us have a hard time trying to be successful is because we can't do the simple things that are needed in order to make that impression, in order to get those opportunities. Being on time, you'd be surprised how many people don't make that a priority. Being on time for a meeting, you don't know whose time you're wasting, right? A lot of people who are successful, they don't like their time to be wasted. So when you get a chance to meet with someone that you've always wanted to meet, or go into get in a business meeting, or for a job interview, do everything you can to respect that person's time, because you don't know how busy that person is. You don't know what they have going on behind the scenes. You don't know the things that they had to give up just to meet with you, right? So it's very important to be on time. Another thing I like to talk about is, for those of you who are trying to get ahead in your careers and so on. People have a perception of other people on how they look, how they dress, all that type of stuff. Okay, and so your job is, whatever career path you've chosen, whatever business decision that you've chosen, whatever company you decided to launch. Okay, you have to make a decision to be on the same level, and if you can, go to another level, and how people present themselves in those career paths. So if you have to wear a suit, wear a business suit. If you have to wear a uniform, make sure it's always clean. Make sure it's always pressed, and so on. Make sure that you do your yeah your face is presentable, right? You're washing up every day. You're taking care of your hair and all that type of stuff. You want to be presentable at all your different workplaces that you get a chance to be at, in those meetings and so on. So every time you're in a situation, sometimes you're going to have to dress up. Sometimes you don't have to be so dressed up and so on. So always adapt to wherever it is that you're trying to go. Because I'll give you an example. If I go and speak to let's pretend I go to go speak at a, I don't know, I go speak downtown Toronto, and I'm going to go speak for a bank. Okay, what's expected of me? Everyone else is wearing suits in Toronto, so I should probably wear a business suit. So I show up with a business suit. I show up early, really early. Okay, and so that doesn't work though if I go to, let's say, a northern community where I have to wear boots. I have to wear winter gear right now, right? Or even if it's in the summer, I still have to wear some kind of boots because it might be muddy, it might be dusty, and so on. I have to bring it outdoor jacket and so on. I can't show up in a suit because that's not the presentable way. In fact, if I go and show up with a suit there's a good chance that some of those people might not be receptive to what I have to hear, because when you go into a community that you're not familiar with, you have to go and try as best as you can adapt to how they live their life, their lifestyle. So when you create that commonality with them, you're able, when you're communicating with them, now you can start to bring dialogue, and there's a greater chance you can connect, and they'll be receptive to what you have to say, what you're there to teach, and so on, all that type of stuff. So it's about adapting. It's about allowing yourself to know where you're going, what kind of career you're trying to get into. Um, if you work from home, that's even a greater advantage, right? You're able to you don't really have to wear. Sometimes you don't have to wear hardcore business attire and so on, formal attire. But when you go on to the mainstream, there, even during COVID, there's still people that are dressing up for the workplaces. So wherever it is that you're trying to go, always adapt. Show up early. Be presentable. When you get a chance and you're talking with people, I know in the mainstream, this is hard for First Nations people, but in the mainstream, they prefer that you really seem interested to what they're talking about. And what I mean by that is sometimes you have to maintain eye contact as best as you can. I have a hard time with this. I have a very difficult time. If you notice, so when I'm speaking with people, I glance, right? I'll go back and forth, because in our culture that is deemed disrespectful to stare at people. We're taught not to stare growing up. So then when we come into the mainstream, and people assume that we're uninterested, or we're something else because we can't look at people in the eye, there is a disconnect there. So that is another thing that we have to overcome, right? We have to teach each other. We have to be willing to understand the differences and commonalities between different cultures and so on. So always showing up early, seem interested with people. When you get a chance to talk with someone, especially someone new for the first time, here's another tip. And you're trying to build dialogue. You're trying to create a connection so that person remembers you. Maybe you're trying to get an opportunity from that person. Here's the secret. They don't care about what you have to say. They want to talk about themselves. So your job as someone who's trying to create an impact is you ask really meaningful questions about that person that you're trying to get an opportunity from. So you ask questions about, tell me about how you got to where you are today. I'm really interested, right? Tell me about the things you had to overcome. Where did you study? Tell me about how you grew up. Do you have kids? Do you have a wife? Do you have a husband? All that type of stuff. Really seem interested in their background. So once they're talking about themselves and they're feeling good, they're talking about what they've done. They feel like they're helping you. At the end of that conversation, one thing should be very clear. You barely spoke, the other person spoke. The other person spoke and was able to talk about themselves, the things that they overcame, the things that they're working towards, and so on, their dreams, their ambitions, all that type of stuff. And at the end of it, you know what they say? Man, that person was a really nice person, right? That's what they're going to say about you. That person, I like that person. Subconsciously, most of the time, they're going to be thinking that way. I like that person. You're going to stand out to them, not because you were talking, but because you allowed them to talk about themselves. It's a very simple tip that a lot of people don't use enough. So if you get a chance to meet someone new for the first time, get them talking about themselves. Get ask those questions. Seem really interested. Give a lot of nods. Really? Give a lot of those verbal cues that you're listening to people. That's what people like. They want to feel like they're being heard, right? So what else can I help you with? There are so many times when I was just getting into business that I had a lot to prove to people. I guess you could have that mindset of I had a lot to prove, because when I would go into networking events, or I'd go into a workshop, or I'd go into a seminar, I was most of the time one of the only First Nations guys going in there. And so when I would go and sit there, I always felt like it was hard for me to fit in. And so automatically I would be quiet. I wouldn't say a lot. And so when it came time for me to uh, eventually become a speaker, and to speak more on stuff and to teach and to train, um, I was able to take a lot of those experiences and help people who are also from similar backgrounds tackle those things. How do you handle being the only First Nations person in a networking room, right? People don't understand that viewpoint. People don't understand that, like when you walk into a place and you're trying to mingle, to network with people, but you come from a different place, and it's tough, right? It's a different mindset for a lot of people, and you're trying to fit in, you're trying to make things happen. So you have to hold yourself to a higher standard a lot of times. I've tried to do that for myself growing up, and becoming when I got into business, I tried to hold myself to a higher standard, showing up early, dress the part, talk to the right people, right? Of course, there's always going to be people out there who just won't care about you. That's just the way it is. But your goal is you're trying to build connections with people that have meaningful, um, that mean the best for you, that want the best for you. Okay, so we have a question here from Marvin. How you doing, Marvin? How would you stay motivated with studies and achieving your goals during the pandemic? I have been struggling too. Um, Good question, Marvin. It's definitely a very tough time for a lot of people that are going through this pandemic, this COVID thing that's happening right now, and a lot of people are having a hard time focusing, having a hard time moving forward in a good way, all that type of stuff. So what I would say, Marvin, is that the reason a lot of people get stuck and they lose motivation is because they when they get a new opportunity, or they're whether it's getting into university for the first time, or going into a new for the first time, getting a new job for the first time, a lot of people don't have something to look forward to aside from that. And what I mean by that is, everyone who wants to stay driven and stay motivated, you have to have something that you look forward to doing, right? So you have to combine your goal with something that you're looking forward to happening in your life. So everyone's different. Everyone has a different thing that they're looking forward to. It could be a trip, right? It could be a trip to, across Canada, or it could be a trip to the US, around the world, whatever that might be. It could be, I don't know, maybe you get a chance to meet a celebrity, a role model, whoever that you feel is attached to that goal, right? So whatever it is that you're going through your studies right now, um, attain attach a goal that you look forward to once you reach finishing your studies. You need to have a meaningful goal. Okay, so a lot of people go through that, even through uh, really difficult times in their life. There's always something that they're looking forward to. That's how a lot of people, they are able, during the low points of their people's lives, they attach a really big goal or something that they look forward to Could be even something like, let's pretend you're having a bad day today, right? And you're something's going on today, and you're not 100% yourself. Things are just aren't working out. Well, maybe you have a simple goal of, maybe I'm gonna treat myself today to a certain food, right? And then you attach that goal to that. Now it lifts you up out of that day. So now you're looking forward to something at the end of the day. Your studies, your workplace should be the same thing. Attach it to something that you're looking forward to doing. Okay. So that's how I would help you with that there, Marvin, and hopefully that helps you. Okay. All right. Again, I hope everyone's doing amazing today. It's Kendall Netmaker here, and we're talking about business and leadership development. And I started this live stream about how important it is to be on time. And you'd be surprised how many people are not on time. How many people um, are going through their life right now, and they're doing just enough or not enough, right? You'd be surprised how many people, like, in different communities, different boards, different leadership teams, there's always someone that's never on time, or just walks in the door at the right time, or they're on their phone nonstop, right? So whatever you decide to get into, whatever you decide to go through in your life, whatever path you decide to go through, whatever that decision is, it should ignite something within you to always want to be there on time. It should ignite something within you to always do your best for that thing, whatever career path that might be. And if you're waking up every single day and you're going about your day just going through the motions every single day, and things are going okay, but nothing's waking you up early, nothing is getting you to your workplace on time, nothing is making you excited about it, you need to reevaluate where you're trying to go. Because there's a lot of people, and I remember even this, back in the day, there was a teacher, I can always remember this teacher, that they just dreaded being there every single. You could just tell, you could just tell people that they just dread being there. And I remember this teacher would just dread being there, and you could tell by their mannerisms, how they talked to their students, how they showed up to work every single day, right? They weren't even really well groomed every single day. Like, you could just tell, right? Those are the kind of people that you need to reevaluate what you're doing with your life, where you want to go. Maybe there's something else you're meant to do. I don't know. So if you're not excited about it, reevaluate it. Okay. All right. We got another question here. Let's see. Shane, online college course has turned into self-taught colleges. Everyone who want to go back to school, you have put their education goes on hold because of the difficulties you're having home. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a very tough time for a lot of people with, especially learning online. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough to take things that were once in person, like being in a classroom, and trying to do it like this. You need a really good teachers to teach you like this, because now they have to be more engaging to teach online, right? So it's tough. Absolutely, it's going to be tough to learn like that. It's going to be tough to show up to your classrooms. There it's just it's a very interesting experience. Um, there's a lot of people that are trying to learn when their kids are in the background or their families in the background, and you're trying to focus. That's tough. So all I can say is to try to do your best to hang in there. Try your best to focus on what you're trying to learn. Try to zero in on that. When you're there's a book in the back here. Who is this? Tim Ferriss talks about. He's the guy that wrote the 4 Hour Work Week, and in one of his books, I remember reading, he talked about some of the habits of these really high achieving people, and one of the things that they do is they zero in on things every single day. So, for example, if you have an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of something that you really have to get done that day, that is 100% their focus during that time. So you kind of have to treat it like that, whether it's online learning or whatever that might be. Um, make it a priority, because that's what you have to zero in, and so on. Let's see. Next question we got. Saul, how you doing, Saul? How do you balance humility and expertise when talking to others for new opportunities? Um, Good question. That's a really good question. It depends what you're looking for. I was told by an elder one time, and I was asking questions a long time ago about trying to be successful as a First Nations person, as a Nahio person in our cultural upbringing, but also trying to be successful in the mainstream. And one of the things that they said was it's two different things, Kendall. It's two different things. So the way that you act in your cultural upbringing, that's how that is there. Your humility, your the way you pray, the way that you're living your life, that's how that path is. If you're going to get into business or to politics or something else, that's a different path. So you're always going back and forth into two different worlds. So the way that I would promote myself if I'm doing business is not obviously what I would bring back to our First Nations way of life. It's a totally different way of thinking. It's humility, it's respect, it's being humble. But when you get into the business and you're by yourself, you're trying to make a living for yourself, it's different. You have no choice but to do some self promotion, to create a resume, to create a website, to create a LinkedIn, Facebook, all that type of stuff. So in terms of balance, it's about trying to balance the two worlds that you're living in. That's the best way I can explain that. All right. Let's see. Let's see. We got another question. If you're multi-talented and enjoy more than one thing as a career, how should one choose a career path? Um, the best way I can explain that is your life is a bunch of experiments, right? So experiment with a few of them. Try them out for a few times. Just because you're doing one thing with your life doesn't mean that you're going to do that for the rest of your life. So try it out for a while. If it doesn't work out, do the next thing and do the next thing, right? That's the best way I can explain that. Um, that's awesome. You're multi-talented, but also make sure that you're giving yourself a chance to find out what that path is. What is that I'm trying to do? What is it I meant to do? Only you're gonna know what that feels like. Okay. All right. Next question. Tesler, how you doing, buddy? As an entrepreneur, how do your mornings look to find uplifting energy to get the ball rolling? Um, it's tough. Everyone's different. Some people are morning people. Some people stay up late. I would consider myself a person that likes to stay up late right now. So I get a lot of my focus work done later at night. I'm trying to flip that to being a more morning person. So my mornings are more for my family, right? Taking my kids to school, to drop them off, and so on. Doing a lot of that right now through COVID because I haven't been. All of my stuff's virtual, so I do a lot of my stuff from my home office now, my home studio. So that is something, Tesla, that you're going to have to be able to discover for yourself. You can do a lot of things that other people do, but at the end of the day, it's about what works for you, not for other people, what works for you. Because a lot of people will try to copy other people's habits and so on, but bring in the ones that work for you, that help you to become that person that you're trying to become or you're trying to grow into, and so on. All right, we got another question. How does one make that transition as easy as possible coming from an urban setting back to our home communities when things are a little slower pace in the management sector? Absolutely. Um, yeah, that's a big problem. You find that a lot with people who um, leave their home communities. They go to school, they go to get educated, and they try to come back and create change. And there's usually a conflict that happens. I notice this a lot because I travel to a lot of places, and that conflict is the person that goes to get educated has a faster way of doing things because they get trained like that out there, and they come back to their reserves, and sometimes their reserves are not as fast. It's slow to do things. So then we have to understand that there is a different pace back home for a lot of us, and even my community. That's how it is. We have to understand that, but we also have to utilize each other's strengths and weaknesses. Um, And I'm a big believer in building partnerships, partnerships with partner with people, organizations that have done things that are successful. There's a good chance that you can be successful by partnering with that person, that organization, that company, and so on. That's the fastest way to become successful as a community. That's my opinion, and that doesn't make it wrong. It doesn't make it right. Okay, so I hope that helps. But that transition from going back and forth is what I talked about earlier on this live stream. It's you living in your two worlds that you're living in, the mainstream and then your urban, your reserve community, wherever it is that you're coming from. It's you're going back and forth, and you're always continually having to adapt to both those worlds. So it gets easier as you're going back and forth and making both of them a priority. But if you're always, coming from the urban and you're learning everything there, and you try to come back and you don't respect your roots or where you come from, or you don't understand the teachings and protocols, there's always going to be conflict. So you have to come from a place of understanding and respect. That is the best way moving forward, but also at the same time, you utilize each other's strengths and try to work forward in a good way. Okay. All right. So I hope that all helps there, everyone, today, and I hope everyone's doing amazing. Again, it's Kendall. Today's focus was on becoming that leader that you were born to be, growing as yourself as an individual. What I mean by being a leader you're born to be is just becoming who you deserve to be. What I mean by that is everyone has talents, everyone has gifts, everyone has things that makes them unique. And the more that you grow and grow those gifts, you become more who you're meant to be while you're here on earth. Okay. I'll answer one more question. I got one from Logan here today. Any advice for someone trying to juggle the demands of work and taking care of a sick mate? Any thoughts on how to keep a balance? Oh, that sounds like a very challenging thing you're going through there, Logan. The to be honest, I don't really have a whole lot of help that I can help you with. All I can say is prayer during that time is very key. I'm a big believer in prayer, belief, however it is that you were brought up to believe, a lot of that. And also just taking that time to get close with your mate, right? Getting close with the person that you're taking care of is very important, because sometimes the things that keep us sick, they originate up here. And so in order for us to get better, is sometimes we have to talk things out. We have to let go, and it comes through we have to talk things out. That's the best way I can explain it. That's why there's a lot of support teams for people who struggle out there. And so they have to talk things out. And it's hard for a lot of us to talk things out, especially as males are typically harder for us to communicate. There's probably a lot of people that are like, yep, that's right. That's right. It's true. That's just the way it is. We have a hard time communicating. Females, it's so much easier for them. They're for the most part anyway, they're easier to communicate their feelings to people. Men, I don't know. We have a hard time with that. So trying to come from a place where you're always trying to allow each other to have a safe place to communicate, that's a key win for a lot of relationships out there trying to get better as a couple. But also to trying to keep everything healthy in your household, your kids, and so on. Even hopefully it keeps your mind positive, so that if anything does come, or and someone gets sick, that you're able to overcome that quicker, hopefully. So prayer, belief, and always communicating. Okay, talking about your feelings, letting go of the past, forgiving yourself, all that type of stuff. That's all part of healing. Right? So I don't know about you, for everyone going through this COVID stuff right now, done a lot of self-reflecting, and hopefully everyone else has done that too. Digging deep, what's happening in our minds, what are we gone through, what are the things that we've had to overcome, forgiving those people that need to be forgiving, moving on, right? Always trying to grow. That's the kind of stuff that I think hopefully this world is getting from this, is that we're going through a time where we need to start doing that more, and really understanding, is this path that we're on really where we should be focusing? Is this the path that we're meant to go on? Okay. So always always pray, always focus on where you want to go, and treat people good, respect, show up on time, respect people's time. And when you get a chance, you get a chance to meet people, or work with people that you've always wanted to work with, respect their time, honor them, and somehow, make sure that they're they know that you're thankful. Okay, because we can't get to where we're meant to go without the help of other people at the same time. So we need to ask questions from people to help get us there quicker, to help us get to the next step. Mentors, role models, all that type of stuff. And hopefully today, um, this live stream has helped you in some way. So I want to say thank you. Hope everyone got some value from today. And again, I'll try to come on in the future. But in the meantime, have an amazing day, and we will see you on the next live stream.